Hi everyone, it's Bob Duff. It's time for topic three. So here we are, and topic three is coronavirus in school. And again, thank you everybody for the opportunity to answer some of your questions. Follow me on social media if you'd like, at Senator Duff for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and LinkedIn. It's Bob Duff. And happy to take your questions afterwards as well if you want to email me or just send me a private message on any of those three. So, okay, here we go. Thanks again, Ms. McAndrew, and everyone at Brien McMahon for all that you're doing. Um, when do you think the state will reopen everything, including school that has been closed to COVID-19? Will we get back to school this year? Great question. This week, the governor should be coming out with his order as to whether or not schools open. I think it's a 50-50 at best. We have to think about things like how many kids can get on a school bus. What do we do with kids who are immunocompromised or even teachers or staff? Um, how do we have this new normal going on right now? It's not going to go school the day before you all left in March is going to look a lot different than school the day after when you come back. So I think a lot of those plans have to be made, but we'll see. That decision will be made by the governor, and my guess is he'll make it with other governors as well. So we'll see. But and then 15 is how are we going to operate school when we get back? Will we provide masks, or are there going to be strict rules? I don't think we have enough masks yet, and I think that may be one of the issues for not only for students but for adults as well. So I'm assuming there'll be strict rules, and there may be even rules like week on, week off. Nobody knows yet. It's all very new to all of us, and this is unprecedented time. So there could be a number of different scenarios on how this all plays out, from distance learning to various ways in which to keep people further apart. Um, so I think it's anyone's guess at this point on how it's gonna happen. We have to make sure we listen to parents and we have to listen to teachers and students to make sure that we keep everybody healthy. Uh, Next question, really, really important question. Seniors and graduation. How likely is it that seniors will have a typical graduation? If not, what will that look like? That's a great question. I have a senior also, and it's really tough to see senior year just kind of fizzle out like this. Uh, I think that there's folks who are really working hard to have some sort of a recognition of seniors and graduation. I'm a little less positive right now about prom and PGP type things, which is really unfortunate because everybody's worked hard on that. I know we've paid dues for 4 years. I helped bring money in for PGP for Brien McMahon and Norwalk High School. And so it's really tough. But I know the mayor said that he wants to do some sort of recognition for students. I'd like to see some sort of recognition for students or some sort of graduation. If it looks like, I don't know if it'll look like what it always looks like, but hopefully we can figure out some way in which to honor all of you seniors who've worked so hard over the last 4 years. You deserve it, and we should do something for you. Do I think the next school year, 2021, will be affected by the coronavirus? What will school look like in the fall? That's what we're trying to figure out right now because there could be a second or third wave. I read an interesting op-ed in New York Times today from Frank Bruni about somebody who had predicted this a long time ago, literally been working on these kinds of issues since the AIDS epidemic in the 1980s. And we could be in a position where we're more regional right now, and rather than the whole nation kind of shutting down, there may be shutdowns, maybe regionally based on when hotspots happen. So there could be, and again, now that there's this distance learning, that could take shape in some manner. It could be depending on the weather. It could be depending on if the flu is kicking up at all. It could be depending on how many tests we're doing right now for our residents. So remember, a lot of asymptomatic people who don't have symptoms, are spreading the virus, and that's the real problem. So you, as a young person, may not even have symptoms. And you may be passing along to somebody in your household. That's why no play dates, no sleepovers, no getting together on a basketball court. It's really, really important that people stay socially distant right now because this virus is so contagious, it is so dangerous, and it is so deadly. So don't take your foot off the gas pedal and don't let your guard down as far as this thing. There's also somebody else tweeted out that in prisons where people are really close together, and that's one place where people cannot be separated as easily, they tested prisoners in a federal prison, And out of, I think it was 2,000 prisoners, 70% of them tested positive for COVID. So what that means to you is the fact that, well, one is that the problem of what we're doing to prisoners, because that should be a death sentence for them. But two is that the virus is still out there. And when people are close together, they're going to spread the virus and they're going to get sick. So that's why it's important for people to stay further away if they can, and they have to. Um, what is the status projection for school sports for next year? Which seasons might have sports? Great question. You might see something like track and field, maybe, depending. But there's still a lot of people to get together. I don't know how we do football games next fall, but this is not official. This is just me talking out loud because you're asking the question. Um, we have to see what kind of testing happens. We have to see if there are large scale testing, if there's ways in which we can have more personal protective equipment. All these things matter in these kinds of decisions. So there's a lot to happen between now and the fall as far as what we do to ensure that we can get back to some semblance of life as we knew it. Um, let's see, 19. For those who are struggling with online learning, could you give any words of encouragement or advice to help them rise above it all? Yes. I really appreciate everybody working so hard on online learning and distance learning. It's not easy. I give you a lot of credit for doing it. A lot of us always moaned and groaned about going to school, but I bet a lot of folks would love to go back to school, hang out with their friends right now. But keep this in mind. It's a very competitive world. Even after all this is done, and even in the middle of all this, the world is still very competitive. And one of the ways in which you'll succeed is by doing your work and not falling behind. Because the world is not forgiving. The world is not going to care that you had to distance learn, and so therefore you're not capable of doing work like somebody else is, because somebody else will rise to the challenge and be able to outperform. So this is a great time for all of you, and I say this to my kids too. Read. I know a lot of people like to be on their devices all the time, and me included. But this is a good time to really become a good reader and to really learn lots of things, and to understand and to be curious about things. Take the time. You have school for 4 hours a day or less, and this is just a good time to really be a well-learned, well-regarded reader, and to really rise above everybody else. Because again, no matter what happens, even though the whole world's going through this, it is competitive out there. And if you fall behind, you're going to fall behind forever. So I know you can do it. I have all the faith in you. I have the faith in your teachers and the principal and all the staff at Brien McMahon High School. So do it for yourself and do it for your school and for Senator's Pride. All right, I'll see you on topic 4. Thanks.